Okay, everybody, we're back once again. This video, if you clicked on it, is Stoicism, the Primer, Part 2. If you watched the first part, thanks very much. Appreciate it. If you haven't watched Part 1, I'd recommend you go back and start there before coming here. I'm going to try to keep things as linear as I can. I will kind of jump in and out of topics as far as Stoicism, but I will try to keep everything pretty consecutive so that parts 1 through whenever I stop, hopefully, I'll do probably part 3 and maybe part 4, but through those primer parts, it will make sense from start to finish if you start at the beginning. Okay, in the last video, I concluded speaking about the 4 cardinal virtues as it pertains to Stoicism. And those virtues were written down by Plato in his book, The Republic. And those 4 are very accurate. They were good representations of what you could call the cardinal virtues of Stoicism. So following on that, we begin with part 2, and we find that the Stoic believes that virtue is the only good. So those 4 cardinal virtues that Plato wrote down as it pertains to Stoicism, they're not the only virtues, but think of another virtue like honesty, right? We could say honesty is a virtue. We prefer people are honest with us. That's practically universal, right? No one wants to be lied to. No one feels good, they shouldn't feel good anyway, when they are compelled to or try to deceive other people. So honesty, the ability to tell the truth in all things, is a virtue. That in itself is good. So the Stoics would say external things, the adiaphora, the external, are only valuable if they foster virtue. So what's an example of adiaphora? We'll say exercise equipment, right? A bench press, a treadmill, a bike, a barbell. Are those things virtuous in and of themselves? No, they're just objects. If they just sit there, they do nothing other than sit there. But if someone wishes to pick those things up or sit down to exercise with those devices, a bench press, a bike, a treadmill, they're trying to improve their physical fitness. They're trying to raise their own level of health. That could be considered virtuous because they don't want to be a burden on other people. They want to be self-sufficient when it comes to physical exertion. So the adiaphora, the barbell, the bike, the treadmill, the bench press, those are valuable because if they're used to foster the virtue of physical fitness, then in that scenario, you could say that the adiaphora are valuable. Okay, what's an example of possibly something that could be either or? Alcohol, right? The adiaphora of alcohol is not virtuous if you can't get through the day without needing a drink, right? That's a vice. That's an addiction. You can't get through the day without a drink. That adiaphora is not valuable because being addicted, having a vice, opposite of virtue. No one could disagree with that. But let's say that every so often your friends come over and you crack a beer and you go out to the backyard, sit at the picnic table, and you reminisce. You share stories. You joke. You foster a fraternal bond. You foster fraternalia, right? If you're fostering that virtue, which is camaraderie, then yeah, cracking a beer, enjoying a little alcohol, that adiaphora is valuable for that purpose. And I say, why not just have a nice tea? It's like, well, sometimes you just want to have a beer, right? So that could be valuable as a virtue in that regard. Okay, so moving on, happiness, which is Eudaimonia in the Greek, is found only when we accept life as it comes when it comes. Dwelling on pleasure, pain, fear, whether past or future, will only lead to suffering. Suffering because of desire, regret, anxiety, dread, etc. So, eudaimonia is the state of happiness, contentment. You're at peace with the world. You don't want for anything, and you don't really feel the need to, put yourself or others through trouble. It's just stasis. You're happy. You're content. That's eudaimonia, and you can only enter that state of happiness when you accept life as it comes, when it comes. So the Stoic lives in the present without fear of the future or without thoughts dwelling in the past that are negative, such as regret or a longing to do things over. We'll give you an example, right? So let's say a woman comes to you and she's giving you news about a woman named Samantha. So she says to you, hey, did you hear the news? Samantha had a baby. They're both doing fine. Your reaction to that should be, that's fantastic news. I'm very happy for Samantha. I hope she and her child have a long, healthy life. You're taking the news as it comes to you, when it comes to you, right? Good news, it came to you. No issue there. Let's say the woman comes to you in a different scenario and she says, did you hear what happened? Samantha had a child. Unfortunately, it didn't survive delivery. Your reaction should be the news as it comes, when it comes to you. I'm very sorry to hear that. That's sad news. I pray Samantha, despite this setback, can continue to carry on with her life in a fulfilling way. That's it. That's the present, and that's all you can really do in that moment. The child has passed away. All you can do is hope for someone who had to experience that to find the strength to live for another day. Third scenario. The woman comes to you and says, did you hear about Samantha? She had a child yesterday, but the child is in the intensive care unit. Doctors aren't sure if the kid will pull through. The news as it comes to you, when it comes to you, should be, I'm very sorry to hear this. This is unfortunate. I'm praying for Samantha and her child. My hope is that the child will pull through and the child will go on to have a healthy life. If the child does not pull through, I still pray for Samantha to find the courage and the strength to carry on with her own life. That's it. Okay? In the first scenario, the kid is born, the kid is healthy, the kid's fine, Samantha's fine. Your thoughts should not be desires. Like, well, I really hope the kid goes on to become a doctor and the kid can make lots of money and Samantha and the kid can enjoy that wealth. To desire things for the future. That will lead to suffering if those desires never come true. The child did not survive delivery. Oh, that's terrible. I wish they had done something better. Why couldn't they have done something before to make sure that the child would have been delivered without issue? This is all. I feel terrible for Samantha. I dread her future. She's going to be crushed by this. Her whole family is going to fall apart. Suffering. That is dread. That is anxiety. That is regret. That is not conducive to happiness. A Stoic would reject that outlook for life. Same thing with the last scenario. Child's in the ICU. Why this happen? I feel terrible for Samantha. I hear about kids going into the ICU. Dread. There's a 50-50 chance for that child to survive at best. This is awful. She must be a wreck. I wish that I could do something better for her. I just wish that we had better medicine. Suffering. These thoughts of desires for the future, regret that something wasn't done beforehand, anxiety over the current situation, you will not find happiness. The Stoic would tell you that to have that frame of mind, you are only going to accept life as it comes when it comes. This is the circumstance, this is the situation. You cannot change it. You must live in it. You must accept pain because that is a fact of life, but you must not let it overcome your emotions because you will never know happiness in that state of mind. Okay. Behavior is greater than words, always. Unless you practice what you preach, words are just thoughts. Thoughts without action are not virtues. Virtue is the only good. That should be pretty self-explanatory. I think that's logical, right? You could say the greatest things about any school of thought, but without putting it into practice, it's just thought. It does not manifest in the real world. If you do not take a philosophy that you believe is worthwhile and you believe is beneficial to life, and you take that and you don't take that philosophy and into action, those thoughts aren't virtues, because there is no virtue without action, right? What good is the virtue of honesty if you do not do honest things? For example, if I extol the virtue of honesty, it's great to be honest, right? Honest people are the salt of the earth. Without honest people, we wouldn't survive as a species. Thank God for honest folks. Everybody should be honest. Then let's say after I'm done saying all that, I find a wallet on the street. Look around. There's nobody around. I'm on my own. I open the wallet. I see there's an ID. It's some guy named Dan Smith. He lives at XYZ address. I see there's about $300 in there. I pull the $300 out. I put the wallet on the ground and I walk about my merry business. Everything I said about honesty before that encounter, what does that mean? Nothing. There is no virtue in those words. The virtue is when I take those words and I put it into practice. I find that wallet. I go to Dan's address and I say, "Hey, this is your wallet. I think I found this wallet a couple streets away. Did you lose this?" "Yeah, I did actually. Yeah." Dan's going to open that wallet. There's $300 in there. It's like, you're an honest man. Thank you for doing that. You didn't have to do that. You could have picked this wallet up, taken the cash, and just tossed the wallet aside. But you're an honest man. You put your virtue on the line, and you move that virtue into a behavior. Thank you. That's right. So the Stoic would tell you, without behavior, words are meaningless. And if words are just words, they can never manifest into virtue. Okay. So what should you do as far as behavior goes? Well, you need to behave in accordance with nature. Your will is yours alone, and if your will is in harmony with nature, you will find harmony within yourself. That's Eudaimonia. That goes back to happiness. Behave in accordance with nature. What does that mean? Well, if you look at animals, right? Do animals rob other animals? Sometimes, yeah. Do animals hold grudges? Well, it's hard to say. Do animals do things out of spite? A lot of people would say, no, they really don't. Do animals lie? Do animals deceive? Do animals exhibit jealousy? It's hard to say, but those feelings, those emotions are pretty much 100% in the domain of the human species, because we have a complex enough computer that we can manifest hunger, lust, anger, and move those things into other dimensions like jealousy, like spite, etc. So to behave in accordance with nature is just that. It's like behave as nature would have you behave, right? Don't attack something that is no threat to you. Don't look to administer pain on something simply out of spite. Don't steal something you don't need. As in, like, if I don't steal this, I'm going to starve to death, right? Stealing for the sake of just enriching yourself does not enrich you or society, because all that will do is foster a nation of thieves. The virtue is the only good. So if you behave in accordance with nature, you will not do anything outside of what is virtuous. Your will is yours alone. And that is, you are the master of everything that happens inside this brain pan. If your will is in harmony with nature, you will find harmony within yourself. Okay? So as your behavior is greater than your words, your behavior in accordance with nature will come back to you. Because you will not find yourself longing for the external things that do not foster virtue. You will not find yourself being a slave to things that do not foster virtue, such as emotions which are self-destructive. Eudaimonia is happiness. If virtue is the only good, virtue is the only road to happiness. Okay, so without going over too long, I could beat these points over and over again, but I think you get the picture. The Stoicism Primer Part 2, 4 bullet point check marks rather, in conjunction with the 4 cardinal virtues. I'll do Part 3 and flesh this out a little bit further, but then after Part 3, I think Part 3, maybe Part 4, we'll see. We'll move on to, as I was saying, how I came to embrace Stoicism as a lifestyle, how it helped me get over a lot of the things that were bothering me in my life and holding me back. And I will do some selected readings and go into the collective works of the 3 titans of Stoic philosophy. So again, thanks for tuning in, and take it easy.